What's going on, everyone? Juice Bags here, and welcome back to some 7 Days to Die. Today I'm going to go through my preferred kind of loadout that I use for Tier 6 Trader Quests and raiding Tier 6 POIs. And I do like to experiment around and try different builds, so I do respec quite frequently. However, just like everybody else, I've got my favorite setup. So I'm going to go through all of that today, and this is kind of the way I kind of beast through all of the Tier 6 POIs. Now, with that in mind, we're going to go through all of the information here. So this is going to be a longer video. I will put full timestamps down below. That way you can skip to any parts you might be interested in. Let's start off with our skill specs. Now, first off, I am at level 97 now. We are on day 130, and I will build out from here and kind of go through the direction I normally take. But let's start off at the intellect tree and work our way over to the left. Now, first things first, you can, of course, get additions to your various stats through the use of mods. I am using a cigar for +1 strength and an intellect mod for +1 intellect on my character. So that means I don't need to fully get down the intellect tree, but one thing I definitely wanted to go for here is Daring Adventurer. A lot of people have mixed emotions on this one, but one thing is for sure, Daring Adventurer is still payday. You get 2 quest rewards once you get it maxed out. Additionally, you're going to get better trader items throughout, and the better trader items can be significant. You can get incredibly good pieces of gear from the trader, and if you're focusing on trader quests through the majority of your experience, you're going to have a crazy amount of dukes saved up, so you're just going to be able to buy anything you want. It might feel like it starts off slow, but it ramps up quite quickly. In addition to that, I am a big fan of tower defense, so with that in mind, I love using robotic turrets. If you get down to Tier 5 and Robotics Expert, you can then deploy 2 robotic turrets at once. I use this all the time if I'm going into a POI and I know I'm about to start a major encounter. I'll throw down my 2 turrets to really help get through that encounter. In addition to that, although I do love to put more points into physician, getting at least 1 point into physician is going to make it so splints and casts cure sprains instantly. Now moving over to the agility tree, we got, I think what most people would agree on is the most powerful skill attribute or perk in the game, and that is parkour. Jump higher, fall from greater distances. It's just absolutely incredibly good. So I always try to get parkour maxed out when I'm doing these Tier 6 quests. And then run and gun. I like to focus both of my ranged weapons. I do focus heavily on a shotgun and a machine gun. So I've got the auto shotgun and M60, and I like to set those up for hip firing. Run and gun helps you out with this tremendously. Hip fire accuracy is improved, and then no movement penalty when reloading. If you're taking that shotgun to the face playstyle, you're going to be doing a lot of running, and you're going to be reloading while you're running. So you're going to get no movement penalty there with a run and gun. Now on over into the fortitude category. As I mentioned, I love me some M60 action, so we are full jacked on machine gun. Now with machine gun fully jacked up, of course, we had to go 10 of 10 in fortitude. So we got our fortitude maxed out. A few other really good abilities in here. Pain tolerance. Once again, I'm a heavy armor, shotgun, get in their face kind of guy. So pain tolerance is just huge. In addition to this, although you can achieve not being stunned with a Raider helmet, if you go pain tolerance all the way to Tier 5, you're not going to need that. Now, I do like healing factor. It does drain your hunger bar quite a bit quickly, particularly as you get a lot of points into it. However, later in game, I feel like it's not really needed, so I usually spec out of healing factor. However, cardio, once again, we're running, we're gunning. Let's get our cardio jacked up for some increased stamina regen while we're sprinting. Moving on to the strength tier. This is our bread and butter, as I love me some auto shotgun. Now, the strength tier, of course, we get that +1 from the cigar, so we don't have to spend those last 3 points in the column, we can get Boomstick maxed out to make sure our shotguns are shredding the faces. Additionally, as I mentioned, I am a big fan of heavy armor as I like to tank. So going into heavy armor and getting rid or reducing the stamina penalty is just huge. Reducing durability is not a bad thing either. Now, in the strength category, these are usually the only two things I go into. If I have a big mining or farming venture I need to go on, particularly late game, I will usually just respec and go into Miner 69er and Motherload for that. And then last but not least, I personally am a lover of spears. Now, when you get into later game, you're going to find yourself using less and less melee weapons, or at least I do personally. So although I do jack spears way up for my initial progression, once I get through, basically, as soon as I get a pump shotgun, I usually like to switch over to shotties. Once I get the auto shotgun and the M60, it's kind of a no-brainer. I'm just not going to use my spear very often, but I do want to have some points into it. So as I get more points, this is where they would go next. I want to get my perception leveled up. I'd love to get Spearmaster up to tier 5 for, all the hotness with it. In addition, as you progress through the game, Lucky Looter gets better and better. Once you're in an endgame loot stage, Lucky Looter is adding quite a bit, so I'll get that maxed out as well. Now, in addition to that, I will go with Penetrator. Definitely, without a doubt, piercing multiple targets is good stuff. Additionally, using AP rifle bullets will shoot through multiple organic targets. And then finally, I'll go into Quick and Perceptive. Now, do have quite a few more levels to go before I get all those things unlocked, but that is how I like to set up my skills. Let's take a look at our armor and mods next. Now, like many players, I do not use an armor set. I mix and match, and we'll go through everything I like to do right here. Now, first off, nerd goggles, you're still using heavy armor. 20% experience gain, though, is just tremendous. You just can't go wrong with 20% XP gain. Now, on my nerd goggles, of course, I like to get those 2 stat points, so I will go with a cigar and intellect. I personally, I'm an old man and the eyes are going, and I like to have stuff lit up. So a helmet light mod for me personally is just a no-brainer. And then usually in the 4th slot, I'll go with some customized fittings. On the chest piece, I like to use the Raider chest. Once again, a heavy armor item with natural crit healing. And the Raider chest just works out for me. I like to use it to get a little bit more of that tank and spank going on with the heavy armor and the natural crit healing. And then for mods, Bandolier mod, reload faster. We've got a pocket mod in here, a banded armor mod, and then customized fittings. Now, I do swap back and forth between 2 different pairs of gloves, and I'll go through why. First off, commando gloves are awesome. You get that 50% range damage bonus. The majority of our damage output is going to be using an auto shotgun and an M60, so straight up 50% damage boost for both of those items. Now, I do like the fact that on the Preacher gloves, you can get a 60% damage boost versus undead damage. Now, normally I will roll around with the Raider gloves instead, and the reason being, when we take a look here, pardon me, not the Raider gloves, we are going with the Commando gloves. I usually will go with them. We take a look at our armor rating, we're 84.16. This is straight up 84.16% damage reduction. Although I can get 10% more damage to undead enemies, if I use my Preacher gloves, I lose about 5% of my damage reduction from the armor rating. So if I'm in a situation, as you see, I normally carry these with me. So if I'm in a situation where I don't feel like I'm going to be taking quite as much damage, then I'll throw the Preacher gloves on instead, lower my damage resistance just a little bit. However, I will pick up a little bit more overall damage output. And then last but not least, we got the boots. I've got mixed emotions on the boots. I love Raider boots. They're heavy. They're going to give you that increased fall distance. However, in every game, we have all ever played, run speed has been just the greatest quality of life in the game. Being able to move faster just wins, and the Nomad boots get a 20% boost in run speed. Now, I am double stacking pocket mods in this one. We're going to go with a quad and a triple, and I use impact bracing and the stealth boots mod. The stealth boots mod I've got on here just really to fill that last slot. Not sure if I went over the mods in the commando gloves. I like to throw in a banded armor, a quad mod, a triple mod, and then customized fittings there. Now, jumping right into a weapon loadout. As I mentioned, I love me some spears. The spear in end game and in tier 6 POIs, to be honest with you, it more often becomes a torch than a weapon I use regularly, as I am all about shotgunning things in the face. On my spear, I want to use it as a torch, so that burning shaft mod is an automatic. Ergonomic grip mod is going to give us the reduced stamina usage, and then we can use serrated for a little bit of bleed, and then the rad remover mod is arguably the best weapon mod in the entire game. I use it on absolutely everything. Now, as I mentioned, the spear is kind of my torch. If I'm not going to be using it at all, sometimes I will swap out ergonomic grip or fortifying grip. Fortifying grip, of course, is going to give us a little regen. Not a huge deal, but something I will periodically swap in and out. Now, my general rule of thumb is shotgun them in the face, and if I start to get overrun, switch to the M60. However, using an auto shotgun does give you a tremendous amount of damage output. Additionally, if you don't have a lot of zombies directly in your face, and you're getting like 2 or maybe 3 at a time that are actually reaching close to you, the auto shotgun gets it done. It puts out mad damage. Additionally, your ammo consumption is not completely out of control, where with the M60, oh, you can spray it out. There's no doubt about it. So I primarily will use an auto shotgun. I don't like the early game shotguns personally, so I usually don't switch to shotguns until I get to the pump. But once I get the pump, it's shotgun time for me. Now, once again, I'm using that rad remover mod, and then as I mentioned, I do like to hip fire, so I'm going to use the foregrip mod, the shotgun choke mod to make a little tighter spread and get a little bit more damage in on those zombie biscuits as we're headshotting, and then the drum magazine mod just to give an absolutely awesome amount of ammo per reload. Now, when in doubt, M60 it out. So if you're getting zerged heavy, I will usually switch over to the M60. You can just mow down some serious packs of enemies with this bad boy. I do like to use the rad remover mod, of course, and the drum magazine mod, getting that huge magazine capacity. Once again, I focus on hip firing, so I use the foregrip mod and then a muzzle brake mod. Now, the M60 is actually insanely accurate hip firing as you get shots off. Of course, as we fire more, our reticle is going to tighten up, and we're going to be able to just have remarkable accuracy. This is going to allow us to nail headshots like crazy with it, even when we are moving and, when we're running around and getting chased by a ton of baddies. Now, with the shotgun, I personally prefer the regular old shotgun shell ammo. I will use breach slugs from time to time just to bust up some buildings, and periodically in a horde night with a good headshot base, I'll use the shotgun AP slugs, but for general use, I like to go with the regular old shotgun shells. The M60, however, you just get a lot of benefit out of using the AP ammo. So I always go with the AP ammo once I have it unlocked with my M60. Now, as far as the shotgun and the M60, one thing I personally like to add in, particularly when I'm live streaming, is a weapon flashlight mod. As a content creator, of course, you want to have the best illumination going on the screen. Adding in a weapon flashlight mod just helps you out. I will normally swap that in while I'm streaming for the shotgun choke mod. And then on the M60, I'll usually swap it in for the muzzle brake mod. So I don't use it all the time. However, it's just a big quality of life having a flashlight right on the end of your shotgun. Now, moving on along, the thing I almost never use but can't live without is a rocket launcher. Who doesn't want a rocket launcher, right? On the rocket launcher, I've got no skill points into it. Like I said, I almost never use it. But if you get into an area where there's a pack of enemies up close, explosives are the way. I usually go with Rad Remover, the Barrel Extender, and a Cripple mod. Now, when it comes to using the rocket launcher, to be completely honest, I'll use it far more often to smash my way out of buildings. With that in mind, using the high explosive ammo, of course, we get an absolute ton of block damage. So the high explosive ammo is going to give 2,500 block damage. If you're at the end of a POI and you don't feel like looking for the easy out, oh yeah, the rocket launcher will just help you make one. Now, for general use against enemies, I usually try to stay away from the high explosive ammo, and we'll go with the frag ammo. Of course, the frag ammo does lower block damage, only 10 block damage, and still does a nice bit of explosion damage, actually more overall. So as far as against enemies, the rocket frags are the way to go. Now, in addition to that, once again, back around to the explosives. I got no points to no explosives. However, contact grenades are just fun to use. If you're at the top of a ladder, you got a bunch of baddies down below or whatever. I usually will use contact grenades probably like 10 times more than I'd actually use my rocket launcher. So I do like to always have some with me. Just adds a bit of fun with some big booms. Now, I mentioned it earlier with the turrets. I like the turrets, y'all. I am a tower defense fan through and through. Most people know this already. I like getting 2 turrets down. So, being able to go into a POI or right up front to a POI, looks like that one needs to be reloaded. Getting multiple turrets down is just a good stuff. It doesn't add an absolute ton, but it does help you out. Now, I usually go with the exact same loadouts on my turrets. I will generally use a drum magazine mod, a barrel extender mod, and a rad remover mod. These I'm using on both of them. Actually, that one's got a shotgun choke mod on it. The important thing with robotic turrets, I think, is to just get the mod slots full. Fill up the mod slots with whatever you got you can use. That is what I am going to with both of these guys, and I do use them absolutely all the time. And then last but not least, let's talk about some buffage. Particularly when you get to end game, why not buff yourself? You're going into a POI that's extremely challenging. You can make your experience a little bit smoother if you give yourself some buffs. So these are the buffs I generally use. Fort Bites and Recog. Fort Bites, of course, damage mitigation, and Recog is increased range damage. The important thing to note with these, you can stack them 3 times. So you see we use a Fort Bites, duration is 6 minutes. However, we can use 3 of them and get that duration stacked. And in many cases, this will get you through the entirety of a POI. If you go ahead and throw down a 4th, well, of course, that's not going to stack up. It's going to refresh the cooldown on it or refresh the duration, but it's not going to stack. In addition to that, you can do the exact same thing with Recog. So you can get yourself through either all or the majority of the POI with Recog. You'll want to just check where your buffs are at when you're coming up to that final encounter and make sure you're still good. You can stack those 3 times, but also realize they have a massive water drain. So make sure you have got some quality water or just plenty of water to drink as you're going through and keeping your thirst meter as full as you can get it. Now, I don't use them as often because they're much more rare, but health bars, max health bonus is plus 10, armor crit resist 25%, natural crit healing 200%. Once again, it's a 6-minute buff. health bars can definitely add to that tank and spank. So overall, we got a massive amount of damage resistance. We've got really good damage output that doesn't require perfect aim, which is another reason I like to use them. We're hip firing and not aiming down sights, which makes it perfect for a run and gun type POI raiding, and we've got ourselves fully buffed up. Now, I can't go through without talking about the drone, of course. I do use my robotic drone. I use it mainly for storage. I do use the healing mod on it, and I will freely admit that it has saved the day before. So it has bailed me out on numerous occasions with that clutch heal. Now, on that exact same note, I do got to say, the drone is irritating as hell. It constantly gets in your way, and it seems like they do have a bad habit of falling through the world, which is quite irritating. You know, you'll just lose your drone, you see where it's at on the map, and it's just gone from the world. So there is an irritation factor that comes with the robotic drone. I do still use it, though, and I'll probably continue to use it in the future and just deal with the inconveniences. Now, when it comes to doing things like horde nights, I will usually park my robotic drone somewhere out of the way. That way it's not getting in my line of sight.
With pleasure.
We can just leave it there and go on over into our little horde night area and do our horde night encounter without the drone in the mix. So that will do it for now. That is how I like to build. That's my normal go-to loadout. Now, like I said, I do like to experiment and play with different types of loadouts and different weapons, but this is my natural go-to without a doubt. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time around. Take it easy.